Hello. Hi, Jamie. Give us a welcome.
Hello. Okay, I was going to say it sounded like AJ isn't working again. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sci-Fi Vision Fandom Access for Tuesday, March 5th. We have, I think, a pretty full show tonight. We have The Ones Who Live and Resident Alien and Shōgun and I'm forgetting some. Oh, Constellation. And I'm not sure what else.
That's it this week. That's all we got this week.
All right.
I think.
All right. Let me.
I
will warn you. I don't know how much I'm going to talk. I have been nauseated tonight, and I stupidly ate a piece of birthday cake of my dad's anyway, which did not help me. So,
guess you were hoping it was like an Alka-Seltzer cake that would settle your stomach.
Yeah, I guess so. I should not have eaten it because I already felt sick, and now I feel worse.
Sometimes a little cake's a good thing. AJ's with us, but he was having a little trouble with his sound. He's having a problem logging in. So I hope he'll get his sound straightened out and be able to join us in a couple minutes. He's waiting on some login issues.
I was going to say, while he's doing that, we could talk about The Ones Who Live if you want.
Yes, let's talk about, where is it? I put a picture in here. Let's talk about The Ones Who Live. Episode 2 aired this week. The title of
pass list because I never remember anybody's name other than their names.
Yeah. The title of this episode, I believe, is Gone. Right?
Yeah, Years Gone. I think it's Years Gone By is the first 3. It's
Years Gone By.
Yeah, it's the each episode has one word name. And good news, I don't know the day yet, and it hasn't been confirmed, but I'm probably going to be doing a one-on-one with Leslie Ann at some point before next week.
And who is that?
Who plays Thorn. So
who's Thor? We haven't met anybody.
Thorn.
Yeah, Thorn. Yeah.
Not Thor. Thorn.
Rick's henchman.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I guess that's for right now the best way to describe it. Yeah. Yeah. So, I know a lot of people did not like this episode. I think maybe just because Rick and her weren't in it together. I actually liked this episode because I thought it was really good character development, even though we didn't necessarily need to know about these other characters that aren't main characters because they die. I don't know. I like this one. I thought it was actually one of the better ones, but I get that the ones who are like big fans of it maybe didn't appreciate it quite as much. Some of the people who are big fans of it, just because it wasn't like a Rick and Michonne thing going on. I don't know. What did you think?
I didn't love this episode. There are some things that are bothering me, like, why is the CRM dumping chlorine gas on civilians and not even large groups of civilians? There were like 5 people that they tried to gas, right? So it's not I don't understand why the CRM would want to kill people, and I don't understand why they would waste resources on killing 5 people. Like, I could see maybe if there were people, like when they wanted to wipe out Omaha, like dumping gas on all of Omaha to kill like 30,000, right? But why they just went after this small, like it
yeah, it just seems kind of cruel. No, I agree with that.
It's not just cruel, but it seems to like
have no purpose.
Purpose. And what we learned in the world beyond, AJ's back. Hi, AJ. Can you talk? Here he is. Hi, AJ.
Hello.
Oh my God! Yay! AJ's beautiful voice is coming through.
Yeah.
Well, don't thank me. Thank Roger, and yes, thank you, Roger, because my laptop will not save me on the thing. I've done everything I could think of so that I don't get kicked out every time we end the show, and every week my laptop kicks me out. So I was on my phone because Roger didn't see my text right away. So thanks to Roger, you can hear me now.
Yay. So thank you, Roger. We're talking about the ones who live. We started it since you didn't see it anyway.
That's your problem, not mine.
I thought that the purpose of the CRM in that show was they're trying to find a cure for the zombie virus, and they're trying to say they're like, we are the last line of humanity, and then they're going out like so much of that. I guess we're gonna find out later, but so much of it just doesn't make sense to me. I didn't love that part. I do. Just circling back, I do like this episode. I like this better than anything I saw on Fear the Walking Dead in the last
yeah, definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
I like it better than stuff I saw. And there are some other things that I like and dislike that we can talk about as we get into it, I guess.
And let me see. I was going to say, Ark is telling us some things. I was waiting till you were done talking. I was saying about Morgan.
Yes.
That you mentioned using a staff. I missed that. I mean, now that she said that, yeah, but I didn't pick up on it, I guess. And she's saying it could have been a test rust of the gas before Omaha. That's a good point. It could have just been the test because they did destroy everybody in Omaha right after that. So
that's a very good point.
That is a good thought. I hadn't thought of that.
I think this is what the title cards say: 5 or 6 years after the bridge, and so it could be. I think Omaha had been around for 10 years when that show started. So that's a good point. Timeline wise, maybe they're testing it. Gas works or whatever.
Yeah, definitely could be. But what I was going to say is regardless of the CRM stuff, I liked, I guess, the character stuff I liked in this one. With this group, the ones that are on screen, that group of characters. I mean, in the long run, was any of the story really necessary because they die? No. But I don't know. I just liked, a lot of the people in The Walking Dead die and their stories aren't necessary. That's not, not everybody lasts long. But I like the story of this group of people, I guess. And the whole, there's still people in, oh no, that's true. They killed the whole caravan too, didn't they? I think they killed everybody with the gas. But I don't know. I liked this separate story and the characters, whether it was important necessarily or not. I still enjoyed it, and I enjoyed seeing more of Michonne kind of. Not that I want to see her on her own. I like her with Rick, but I liked kind of seeing her, getting strong again and getting back out there. And Ark is saying she thinks in the end Rick will have control of the CRM. I think that's kind of where Okafor wanted it to go, but whether that'll happen, I don't know. But I do think that's a possibility. I'm not sure if they have, intending if they're getting towards an ending, because I'm assuming that this, and I don't know, I have no information before I say this. I'm just assuming that this show may come back, or they may have intention of bringing it back. So I don't. Yeah. So regardless of what happens and where the ultimate lead to that is, I don't know that it'll happen this season, and I haven't seen the end of the season, so I am just guessing.
This is a one and done. They are not going to get.
Did you really believe that? Because they did a lot of things, and they were supposed to do more than one movie, so I kind of assumed they might have another season, but maybe I'm mistaken on that.
It was going to be 3 2-hour movies, and they made it into this 6 hours instead. They'll never get Andrew Lincoln and Denai Guerrero back.
True. That's true. Well, but they have, since they had a lot of creative freedom, maybe they can bring back. But if they're not planning to come back, then I could see them wrapping more of the story up. It's, in my opinion, if that is what happens, whether they wrap the story up, I think depends on how they intend to integrate the other stories. Like if they have a plan for Dead City to, connect later on to the CRM, and the same thing with Daryl's story, then I don't know that they could completely wrap it up like that. I don't know. But I could ultimately I could see what she's saying happening, but whether it'll happen right away, I don't know.
I can get down with that. Andrew Lincoln, I want to get back to what happened this episode, but Andrew Lincoln left the show because he didn't want to live in the United States and be away from his family. I just don't know that he wants to come back and do another big multi-year connection to this. Denai Guerrero is like a broke out in Marvel, and she's a playwright.
No, you're not wrong.
Actress. They're not going to do it. And I don't want them to, because like, I mean, this
won't be as good probably if they keep
like, you can't. I just get so frustrated with shows that are the end of the story and then like, let's suck more out of it.
No, I agree with you. But do you think, I just kind of question, like I said, that the other stories are eventually going to like wind their way into this story. So
maybe.
I don't know that I could see them wrapping up the whole CRM story for that reason. But considering the CRM haven't been in the other series, they totally could. I'm not saying they won't.
Okay, the CRM can go on. I mean, I could, like, Rick having control of the CRM, like, I can see that happening, but like, we are in a time place right now that
I was going to say, it kind of depends on what they do to the timeline. For all we know, they could show it happening 10 years down the road, and then
there's time for a jump without him. I would like to see him. I would like to see him get killed at the end of this, actually.
Rick? Really?
Yes.
I don't really want to see him get killed, even if you don't come back. I don't know that I want to see him get killed.
Much
but
like,
I tend to like happy endings.
Okay. These are not comparable at all. But remember, these are not. Wait, let me finish. They're not comparable at all. But remember how J.K. Rowling wrote the coda to Harry Potter so that it could just be over and people would stop, right, and would not try to write new stories or whatever. It's a little bit different scenario, but I'd like to see it come to some kind of end where Rick is definitely done. And like,
yeah, I couldn't be okay with that.
If this franchise is going to go on, I'd like to see it be more healthy than having the same. I just don't think those two are going to do it. At any rate, I liked these 3 new characters. I didn't like seeing them killed because they were actually really good. And The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead have introduced a lot of like new characters who sucked so bad and hung around, or even if they were killed right away, you were glad. And these 3
were actually really good characters. Yeah.
Nat, the shorter guy, the white guy, played by Matthew Jeffers, and then we had Andrew Batchelor as Bailey and Brita Wool as Aiden, which I kept getting confused because I felt like those names are like they could be male, or I was like, wait, which one is the redhead and which one is because their names were like could be for any person. They're not just like a traditionally male or female name. I was getting a little like, wait, who's who? But I got the hang of it eventually. I'm bad with people's names when they're new on the show. But I liked them. I thought they were really good. And I thought Nat in particular was a very well characterized, right?
Yeah, I think that they developed him really well, especially in one episode. This show hasn't necessarily been as good at doing the other shows of this franchise hasn't been as good at doing that in recent time, and I do think they developed him well.
I love that the story, like his story he tells of his backstory that's like defines his personality and all, is not about the apocalypse. It's not about the fall. It's not about who, like everyone on the show is all about who they lost and all their, and this was about a person that he loved pre-apocalypse.
Yeah, Mark loved Nat too. I think we all did. I really liked him. I think he was an awesome character.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And I was like, I thought maybe he'd go along to the CRM or something. I liked Aiden and Bailey also, but they really didn't have that much of a role.
No, it was more about Nat, and
we know what their point was. We know what their point was.
Show, yeah,
on the show.
Michonne. I'm calling her Michonne now. Michonne.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was their point. I agree. I mean, and it was tragic and it was really sad, but I think that they did do a good job, like I said, with the character story of this episode. The CRM stuff maybe not as much, but I felt like I thought this episode was more emotional and I bought into the characters more, and I think they did a good job with developing. And you saw why she had the outfit she did, because you were complaining about it last week.
Yeah, that they made
like, there's no reason. And also I don't want to not tell what Ark was saying. I just wanted to jump in. I know we said that, but she was saying, yeah, maybe they could have a time jump with Rick in old age. Yeah, I don't have a problem with Rick dying if it's like in the future, even maybe. I just don't want it. I don't know. Like, I don't want it to end like, oh, he gets killed by a walker in the last 5 minutes. I guess that's more what I'm saying. Like, I would be mad if they did that. If they did like years later and he was running the CRM or whatever, that would be cool. And like I said, they could do that. I mean, they could do it, 20 years later, and then the other series all lead up to that. Who knows?
I don't know. I kind of love the idea of like Rick and Michonne's total arrogance in the last several, where they're like, we're the ones who live. And it's named after this statement where their comment, like, we can't die. And I know it's not total arrogance. It's also like, you have to believe that or you won't be able to survive. But it would be kind of funny if it's called The Ones Who Live and then one or more of them die at the end.
Yeah. But I don't even think it necessarily, I don't know. Like, I can't remember exactly how the quote was used. I'd have to go back in the show. But I mean, was it meant 100% literal? Or could it also be meant like we're the ones that go on, we're like our idea, our making the world a better place goes on because they're not willing to just give up.
I believe it meant we're the ones who live because like we try and we do the right thing and we like make sure that we live and we take care of our people and we're the ones who live. I think Andrea says something like that in the comic book, if I remember correctly, but I haven't read that in a while.
And Ark is talking about the chemistry. I've said before, I like them together. I don't know that. I mean, I maybe would have liked a little bit more in the original series of them together, maybe showing it a little bit more beforehand. But I mean, I like them together. I don't have a problem with them. I know there's kind of like a couple different big groups that argue back and forth, but
I gotta say, I've said it before, I just have never seen it. I just never saw any chemistry between them. And we did see how they developed as friends and they were getting closer. And then there's a time jump in there, just like together. But I just never saw a spark between these two actors and between these two characters on screen, which is not to say I think either of them is a bad actor, but sometimes you just don't see it. And this is the first time, like when I didn't get a photo downloaded of when they meet in the, the surprise meeting in the field after she shoots him down. I didn't, but that was a great shot where I saw the chemistry and I saw it here. And it's really the first time I've found them believable as lovers. I just never,
I think it would have been nice to get more of it and not be so quick to develop. And a lot of that was because of the time jump. And I mean, some of that can't necessarily be helped. It's just the way the story went. But but I definitely see it here.
I mean, I just, some people did see it. And I just never saw it before. It just didn't ring for me. But it does now.
You're also not as much of a shipper, I know, as like I am a lot of times. Like I tend to latch onto that kind of stuff quicker. And you a lot of times are like, I don't give a shit about that. Let's be honest. So I feel like I'm more likely to be like, oh, they're in love than you are. So
well, and in the comic book, Michonne and Morgan fall in love, right?
That I don't know.
And then Bob, maybe. Who's with Bob?
Who is Bob? I don't even remember who Bob is. Remind me who Bob is.
Forget it.
Bob was the guy that they ate him, wasn't it?
Yeah, Bob gets eaten.
Okay, never mind. I remember.
But Rick was with Andrea in the comic book until she died.
Oh, okay.
But I just didn't see it. But I thought it was good. I saw the chemistry in this show. I believe them together. Which is great because we have a short amount of time with them in this. So that was working for me. One thing that never works for me is this person. In this picture, I download this picture because I can't believe they live in a town that gives her that kind of haircut, but is able to manicure her eyebrows so perfectly, right? Like, what the hell is going on with grooming in the Commonwealth?
Yeah, I don't know. Not the Commonwealth, the CRM, but yeah.
Oh, CRM. I mean, they had to bring Jadis in.
Jadis is awesome, though. I like Jadis. I think I liked her more than we did before, but I like Jadis. I mean, I don't like. Let's put it this way: I like her, and I like to. At the same time, I like to dislike her. Like, you're not meant to like her. Like, she's a happy, nice character, but you know what I mean. Like, I like when she comes in.
I mean, I wasn't a fan when she lived in a garbage dump and spoke a made-up language. And all that. Why did they have we still don't know why they had a made up.
Yeah, because that was all her acting. That was all pretend. Remember?
Yeah, but it was stupid storytelling that they make up a fake language.
I'm just telling you the explanation. I didn't say it was a good explanation. I said it was the explanation. Is that all of that was her theater, and her getting what she needed.
And she, like, it's really not clear why she kidnapped Rick and gave him the CRM and then lied and said he was a bee. Because if she did it to save his life because she thought he was so great or something and only the CRM could save his life, maybe.
I kind of wonder.
She's a horrible person and blackmailing him.
Yeah, true. But I kind of wonder, and I don't know, this is just kind of, I wonder, I think about like how we were talking earlier about could Rick become the leader of the CRM? There's a small part of me that wonders if maybe she sees how great of a leader he is, and maybe she's kind of the same idea of Okafor is that maybe he can change it. I don't know. I would like to see if that's her reasoning. And I was just going to say, I just want to put this in there because we kind of moved on past that. But Michonne, when she comes in and pretends to be somebody else, her name that she picked was Danny. Yeah, that's true.
Dana. The name she picked was Dana. Yeah.
Dana. Not Danny. Danny. Dana.
She pulls a Carol. That's what Carol did when she went in the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
She baked cookies and put on a sweater.
And let's see. Ark says, I think Rick is going to kill Jada. She knows way too much of his past. And you were saying, yeah, could be.
She's got to go. She has to die. She's like, given that we didn't see Terry O'Quinn this week, I'm not sure how much of a big bad he's going to be. And is Jadis kind of like the main bad? Like, Jadis is the one who knows. Although, I don't really think that Rick and Michonne are good enough actors. And I don't mean Andrew Lincoln and Denai Guerrera. I mean Rick and Michonne. I'm not sure they're good enough actors to pull off this, like, nobody catching on that they know each other. Yeah. Because that was a huge risk. Like, they took a huge risk. They didn't really do anything except make out in that scene where they, right? Like, when they reconvene.
Yeah, can they keep their hands off each other and pretend not to be together?
Like, this was a big risk. It wasn't like, I have an important message for you. Meet me in the sewer tonight to escape. It was like, I love y'all, get us out. It was pretty risky, right?
Yeah.
What did you say? Can they keep their hands off each other long enough to escape? Yeah.
Yeah. But the point is, and we kind of skipped this part, but when she was saying about her taking the name Dana, the point is that we didn't mention is that Rick, when he brings Michonne in, gets her to lie about who she is because he doesn't want her to get killed. She has to kind of lay low. And Michonne is not necessarily a person who is happy with laying low, I would suspect.
She's an A. She's a natural leader. She was the leader when the 5 communities like came together and made a constitution. They elected her like the president or whatever, right?
Yeah. So she's probably not gonna do great with that.
Yeah.
I've seen more than this. So I'm just being careful what I say and what I mention. But anything is what I thought at this point. So
I mean, Michonne is not like Carol. Was able to slip in and
Carol is like the master of disguise, I guess.
Well, but she also wasn't acting. She was just putting on the old Carol when she was a housewife who was cowed and abused by Ed, her husband, and like that was her pre-apocalypse life, right? And Carol just put on that sweater, and it came back. Michonne was a civil rights lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Or was that in the comic book? Because
I don't remember. I thought she might have been a lawyer, but I might have gotten that from the comics to reading about it.
She was, because in the comics, in the show, Michiko was like a civil rights lawyer. Anyway, I think she was a lawyer of some type. Anyway, what'd you think of the effects in this? So I did not include any zombie pics because they weren't that good. And what I wanted a picture of that AMC does not have on their press site was the parting of the zombie sea. What'd you think about that?
Trying to remember the parting.
Okay, so Michonne.
So that was when they set off the fireworks or whatever, right?
Yes, because Michonne got knocked off her horse by a flying zombie head. Remember?
I'll be honest. I didn't even like thinking about this now, having seen it a few weeks ago. To me, in this episode, because I did think the storyline was good, the walkers didn't really stand out to me. I mean, yeah, that was kind of cool the way they did that, but that isn't really what I'm remembering about the episode, which I feel like is honestly a good thing because I feel like all they ever do lately is try to be like, oh, this is so gross, and that's like the point. I felt like this one had a lot of story, and I have to really think about it to think what walkers were in it.
I'm trying to pull a photo of this walker. So there's this giant horde of zombies, and I forget how Michonne was supposed to get. Oh, she had these like flashbangs that she shot off, and it distracted the zombies to walk in the other direction, right? And somehow I forget what happens, but there's some.
And there was there was she said the purple smoke. Yeah, there was a guy. Wasn't there a guy with a gas tank or something?
There was a zombie with gasoline like all over him.
Yeah, they lit on fire, whatever. I remember it was cool, but I don't, like I said, I'd have to really think about walkers.
Anyway, what happens is she gets knocked off her horse by a flying zombie head, and she's like gonna get killed, and
that's when Nat comes in. Or no, the two of them come in.
Nat and his people come in. So, everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people online are saying that this group of people, Nat's group of people, reminds them of the Harfoots in the Rings of Power. And did you watch the Rings of Power, or did just AJ and I watch it?
No, I just watched the pilot. I never got further than that.
Okay, there's a group of people who are like,
they're like the predecessors or something to the
hobbits,
right?
Yes, they're like 3 hobbits, and their thing is they have this big caravan, and everybody has wagons that they pull, and if you fall behind, they dump you because they can't wait for anyone. So a lot of people online are like, "Oh, they're the Harfoots."
Yeah, they kind of are the. Yeah, their leader is not such a nice person, is she?
They pull wagons, and if you fall behind, too bad. They can't. Anyway, what happens is they come and they set off 2 explosions, one on the left and one on the right, and half the zombies go left and half the zombies go right, and it's just like the parting of the Red Sea, and this big like aisle opens up in between that Michonne could like walk right down.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool. I couldn't decide. I went back and forth between this is dumb and this is really cool. You seem to not necessarily.
Yeah, like I said, I think it was cool, but it's not what I'm remembering about the episode. So it wasn't. I didn't feel like it was like this moment that really stuck with me. I guess if I'm on, like I'm not. That's not what I remember about the episode. No. I remember if you talk about it, I remember it. But
it was visually a thing, like in the.
Yeah, it was cool, but
it was the set piece of the first act, really, right?
Yeah,
that's why it comes to me.
People also have to remember, I've watched this like a couple months ago. My brain doesn't go back that far.
Yeah. I mean, they do. Also, Nat was reminding me of Seamus Finnegan from the Harry Potter series. He was the kid who blows everything.
Yeah. He loses his eyebrows all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he blows up the bridge in the.
That's funny. Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, I really liked Nat. I wish they had. I mean, like I wasn't surprised they killed the rest of them, but I would have liked to have seen Nat stay.
Yes, and when he lived through this part, right? Like
especially after you lived. But I mean, to be fair, if they're only going to have 6 episodes and they already devoted an episode to not having the 2 of them together, like they really don't have a lot of time to devote to other characters. So I understand.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I get that. But they're going to need some help to get out of there. So I thought maybe like he would be an ally they would have in trying to escape. I did notice that like everybody like was really, really horribly sick and affected by the gas, the chlorine attack. But I felt like Michonne wasn't real. She only had this little bit of blood out of her nose was all that happened to her.
Well, I think a lot of it was their lungs or whatever. And
well, yes. And so they're all sick, and they, we did have the Walking Dead obsession with
years
needing oxygen.
She goes and gets, I think it was 6 years, wasn't it?
She gets these oxygen tanks, and they huff oxygen for like 6 months until they get strong enough to, right? I was like, I didn't love that because I was like, oh, here we go with if she carries around an oxygen tank for the next 4 episodes, a la Madison on Fear, I'm gonna like kill somebody, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe there will be some ramifications. I would think I don't know anything about chlorine gas attack, but I would assume that their lungs would be messed up for maybe ever. Are they ever going to be able to run fast again? I don't know, right?
Yeah, but will that be something that they will continue in this show? Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably something they'll forget about really quickly. Let's be honest. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen the end. So I can't tell you that.
I do. So quickly, you and anyone who's in the chat, Rick immediately, like when Michonne finds me, immediately says, "I'm not with them." And he has said many times, I'm not with them. I'm not with them. I want us to get out of here. But I mean, I was wondering, like, doth he protest too much? Like, would Rick ever come around to this? I do have to stay and change it from the inside. Or is getting back, I don't know, like getting back to the kids is important. And yet, like, these kids have been like,
I don't know. I kind of see Rick that like Rick wants to save everybody, and he might feel like if he can save the world and make it a better place for his kids, then it's worth it. Is that a good choice? I don't know, but I could see that. Like Rick sometimes just wants to save everybody and he can't, you know?
Yeah. And he like, did he even ever meet RJ? Like he says,
yeah, Ark's saying Rick doesn't know about RJ. You are correct. Rick does not know about RJ.
Okay, because he keeps saying, "How is Judith? Is she okay?" And Michonne says they're okay, right? She says she's okay. She's okay. He doesn't know about RJ. She was pregnant when he disappeared.
Yeah, and he doesn't pick up on it, right?
Yeah, because maybe when she says they, he thinks she means like Carol and the gang,
and
right?
Everybody else, yeah. I think he sort of missed that, and I don't know if that was like purposely sort of her dropping a hint so he would ask. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you think she'd be like, by the way, I had another baby, and then he'd be like, let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I know. She wants him to leave. That would probably be something that would yeah, and she's saying Judith is probably an older teen. I don't know. I've said this before. I get so confused with the timelines and where they cross over at. I try not to follow it because I just kind of give up.
I don't know. This is 6 years after the bridge. This might be.
I mean, this takes 6 years, but I think this was behind the other show by 6 years. Right?
This is behind where the Commonwealth stuff happened at the end. I don't know why I want to say it was 10 years. I don't know, but she's pretty old, right? And also, I think that there is a point in which, look, Rick didn't leave by choice. Then, like, Michonne's in charge of the kids. She leaves them. Then Daryl's in charge of the kids. He leaves. Carol's in charge of the kids. She leaves. Like, what does Judith even need with an adult anymore, right?
Although I still don't know that I don't think any of them should have left the kids. I mean, I get that like Michonne loves her husband and everything, but I don't think that she should have left her kids to go after him. I don't know that I agree with that choice.
Me too. I don't know that she should have either. And
I kind of Rick, but that's not. I don't know that I think that was the best choice for her.
Which was kind of Nat's point. Was like, you can go home and not be giving up. Right?
Don't forget your kids. Yeah.
You can go home to your kids, and that doesn't mean you can still think that Rick's alive out there, and it's okay. But then if she did that, we wouldn't have this show.
Good.
So, right.
I do hope, I will say, regardless of whether they fast forward or whatever, I do hope that by the end of the show they do get back to their kids in some form. Whether that'll
we'll have to have a time jump because those kids are growing so fast, right? That little actor who plays RJ is the new tall Walt, I'm sure.
Yeah. We'll have to
all right. I mean, so in a nutshell, we both liked it. There are always things that we don't like, but usually we spend we go like 40 minutes bitching about Walking Dead, and mostly we liked it.
Yep. Yeah, these spinoffs have been a lot better than most of the spinoffs have been a lot better. Fear kind of went downhill, but these ones have been pretty good. So, yeah.
All right.
Well, I guess that's about it for this, unless you have anything else to add.
Nope,
like I said, I will probably be talking, if all goes well, to Leslie Ann pretty soon. At least that's the plan.
She's in the promo for next week's episode. The promo, I don't know if you saw it. No, because you watch a screener. At the end of the episode, next week's promo, Thorne is talking to Rick, and she's like, that Michonne chick doesn't seem like, she seems like not a person who, like, I forget what she says, but she's on to Michonne. Like, whatever she's like, doesn't think that Michonne is like a wallflower that she's pretending to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kind of person she says, right?
Yeah. Probably because she went sneaking, like people who she went sneaking around and climbed up on the roof to check out the operation. And it was cool that we got to see what the serum resources are like, particularly if you've not watched the other show.
Yeah, but you're not laying low. You're not listening to Rick.
Yeah, but if you haven't, I mean, it was important to see that for people that maybe didn't watch, and a lot of people didn't watch World Beyond. I feel like it's the least watched of all the spinoffs.
Probably, yeah.
So
which you should watch it if you haven't, because that spinoff was actually pretty good. I mean, I think the newer ones were maybe better, but it was still pretty good. I mean, it was overall liked it.
It was terrible to begin with, and it got a lot
better. That's fair. It got a lot better.
Yeah.
It started off kind of slow.
Yeah. Slow. It started out just bad, but it got a lot better in the next season. And it seems like, you might need to watch it. So, all right. So
I do want to say, if anybody does want to, like, listen to us talk about the premiere, if you missed it, you can always go back and get our other podcast episodes on YouTube, or I think you can even scan back on Twitter. But if you go to, SciFi Vision's YouTube, it's just youtube.com/SciFi Vision.
Yes, I think our insights are very important and unique, and people should go back and listen to them.
Yeah, as I said, there's our Twitter. You can even scan through there, but it's just the same thing, but YouTube instead of Twitter.
Yeah,
that's the short version. It's the same. All right. Well, what show do you guys want to do next? I guess we're gonna move on.
Well, next in my bunch of pictures is Resident Alien. So
we can talk about Alien then.
Let's talk about Resident Alien.
Close this out. All right. I gotta try to remember which episode this was.
So, Jimmy, this is episode 3, which is 141 seconds. Was the name of
Yosemite.
The episode. It's when they go to Yosemite on vacation. When Ben and Kate are going. And Harry,
their vacation's funny with Harry like sticking his nose in and constantly undermining them, which is funny.
So Harry insists on going with them. I mean, Harry is pretty smart. He figures out, right, that Yosemite is like probably where the Greys have their base, and it's the key. Like, now that he knows that Ben's being taken, he's like, he's using Ben. But it was pretty. I did not include the picture of Alan Tudyk in his full-on underwear because I can only include so many photos. In this one, he has closed his robe.
What did he say? He needs to let his scrotum breathe or something.
The cold air.
Cold air.
Does something to keeps his scrotum. I don't know what. I was expecting a shrinkage joke a la Seinfeld, but it didn't happen. But he's got. You can see he's got his like press-on nails on. He's been like, I don't know, having a manicure. Right? He went and got a manicure, I guess, from that crazy receptionist who was the manicurist. I mean, the vacation is like. So Kate is very. Like in a bed, she's very down on the vacation. I mean, she's not wrong. Like, if like it snows all this, like Yosemite's like practically, I don't know, the snow. She can't get a massage because of the snow, and she's all sort of in a bad mood. But we kind of know what's bringing about her bad mood.
That was really sad.
That was the cold open or the first scene. I don't know if it's the cold open.
Yeah, she's having baby dreams.
Having baby dreams.
Well, baby memories.
Yeah, coming in the form of a dream.
So I'm not sure if this was her dream though, or this is a scene of what's actually happening because, they pull out and now the Greys come and they're like, okay, it's time to take the baby back. And she's like, no, let me remember this time. And I don't know if she was dreaming that or that was sort of a.
I think it was supposed to be a memory.
Well,
I thought
her being taken.
I take it as
that we see this, and this is not from her point of view. This is not
right.
In your dreams, you can see yourself, and you have a different POV in your dreams, right?
True, but for TV, dreams are a little funny sometimes. I think I took it as it's a memory, but it comes in the form of a dream. From her point of view,
it's a dream.
She wakes up right after it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I kind of took it like this really happened.
Oh yeah, it definitely happened.
Yeah.
And not a dream.
The way she's remembering.
I just took it that this really happened and it's causing her to have other kinds of dreams, or like, you know how like when she hears that baby crying down the hallway, she has a very visceral reaction and she freaks out. And it's because of I'm pointing at this like you're sitting next to me. It's because this happened. I don't know if she remembers this exactly, but this is the cause for sure. So I also, so we don't see it in this picture, but as they escorted Kate out of this set, another woman was being brought in behind her. Did you catch that? There was another woman being led in a nightgown. I'm not really sure what the point of this would be.
Well, I think they're supposed to have taken other babies.
Yes, but why would you allow the mother to sit and hold the baby for 10 minutes and then take it away? Like, what is the...
Well, like, I'm sure there's a point. Maybe they're breastfeeding.
Maybe they're breastfeeding. Yeah, maybe they're nursing. Although you'd have to abduct the like AJ. You had baby. Jamie and I don't have kids. When your kids were babies, didn't they have to eat like every 6 hours?
I don't remember.
Okay, they ate them freaking all the time, right?
Yes.
Like when they're first born, it's like 4 hours, and then they go on, and then they go on.
I mean, maybe they intend to put the baby back eventually, and they don't want it to be completely maladjusted. Who knows?
The way, like, I don't know.
Who knows the option?
Who knows?
I don't know.
The weird. Well, you know what the thing is. You think about. I mean, how this episode ends up. It's really interesting to what their plan is with the babies, considering they plan on blowing up the Earth by the end of the season or in a year.
That's a good point. Also, why do you need why are you creating new hybrids if so Jamie, if you recall, Harry figures out it's partly because he and Ben go they follow Ben to the quarry, to the gravel quarry, and Max and Harry go down this you can't see it, but he goes down a trap door, right? And that's where he figures out that they're going to flood the water table or whatever, and have it when they get all this water diverted, and they're going to drill down to the magma and create like an explosion, because Yellowstone does sit on. Did you guys see what's that movie where Woody Harrelson is this crazy guy who says Yellowstone's goes? It's 2012. You see this movie 2012 where John Cusack, it's the end of the world, and John Cusack is trying to save his family, right? Yeah. And Woody Harrelson is this kook who's like, I'm telling you guys, Yellowstone's a giant volcano. It's going to blow. I was thinking of him. I was thinking of that as I was watching this. But Harry figures out, so that's a good point. Why I could see why they would have maybe had hybrids to help them with their.
Well, I don't think that Kate's baby isn't necessarily a hybrid.
Well, we don't know what they do with it when they.
I assume they're just abducting it, like they abducted him. I didn't know that. I'm trying to remember. I don't think that
they abducted that baby out of her womb and grew it in a tank, right?
Okay, yeah, I guess.
Saw her laying on a bed looking at a tank, and so it could have been hybridized or had alien DNA. It could not ever have been Ben's child. They could have inseminated her.
That's true.
And put her back in her bed, and maybe it was never Ben's baby in the first place, right? Maybe Ben's not the biological father. Maybe a Gray is. We don't really know.
I just kind of assumed it was like with the alien tracker when they took the baby. Like
they took the baby out of his wife's womb. She knew she was pregnant, and then she wasn't pregnant. They took the baby out of the womb.
Well, maybe but they took it out earlier this time, I guess, and she didn't have time to be pregnant and have the baby. Yeah, I don't. But I kind of assumed it was the same thing. Just they took.
Terry Quinn's wife did not have that baby. Everyone thought she was crazy, saying like her baby was abducted out of her uterus, but
right. But I'm saying like maybe she was pregnant and it was just they took it earlier and then finished the gestation in their ship or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, she was pregnant.
Alien. I'm just saying I didn't.
I assume this baby's a hybrid and that Ben is maybe not the father, or there's some way they hybridize it after it's. Like
maybe we don't know.
He took it out of her womb and put it in a jar in a tank, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, these are all very good points. Like, why are they making new hybrids when they're going to blow up the planet? I mean, one reason might be AJ. We've been told that the Greys can't survive in Earth atmosphere and gravity, and that's why they have to have hybrids, because the Greys themselves can't come down to Earth and do it for themselves. If they want to go to populate other planets, maybe they need to have this ability to survive other atmospheres and gravities. I don't know. We might never get that. We might be applying a too serious sci-fi focus, like we do to other shows, to what is basically a comedy, right?
True.
We had a B storyline. I love the B storyline, and I only put one photograph in, but it involves Liv and the sheriff. There are two B storylines. Liv and the sheriff are trying to figure out who was in the car. And Asta and Darcy know that it's Ben, and they don't want them to be able to find him, so they need to get rid of the plaid shirt. They need to find the shirt he was wearing. They need to find the shirt Harry was wearing.
Not Ben, Harry.
They need to find the shirt Harry was wearing and get rid of it. And it's a plaid shirt, and I think it's Asta's father or somebody says it's Colorado. Everybody wears plaid.
I was going to say that's not that rare.
And sure enough, every shirt in Harry Clouds is plaid. I have never noticed this before. Has he only worn plaid shirts for the entire show? And we never noticed that before.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just never noticed it.
You might be right.
I
don't know. I hadn't really thought about it. Yeah. But
and of course, the photo is black and white.
Yeah, so they have to take all of them. Although I would think you could figure out the pattern that it wasn't all.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
But it was funny, which was the whole point.
Which is the point, because it's a slim, like anybody could have any plaid shirt, right? It's very slim, but so there's this whole scene where they're like in the house, checking out the house, trying to find it. Every shirt is plaid. And there were no photos on the press. Were there any? There's the Sheriff Mike and Judy storyline.
Oh God.
Which is, oh God, AJ, but didn't you feel kind of sorry for Judy? Like they really.
I did, but I mean, Judy had them walking down the aisle after a one-night stand.
Fair enough. It was very stalkery.
Yeah.
But she was so sad, and you kind of felt how she really
everybody always dismisses Judy, but I kind of do understand.
No, I did feel bad for
her. That he freaked out.
At the same time, she kind of does it to herself.
Yes, I mean she's a nut. That was this episode surprised me. There were two moments that I felt. Once I felt kind of sad, and once I felt really sad. There's the scene with Judy. All this with Judy, I felt kind of sad. Liv and her grandmother. Holy
my God, that was awful.
Where did that come from on a show like this? It was horrible.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Her grandmother needs to be abducted.
It was really, really horrible. And then she gets in the car with Sheriff Mike, and they kind of go in a different way with their conversation. And I was like, wait, are they really not going to, did they really just drop that bomb and they're not going to address it at all? And then all of a sudden Liv starts crying, right? That was just brutal.
Yeah.
I thought they were maybe treating her grandmother as sort of a comedic mean person, but
no, that was just mean.
And we weren't supposed to feel how hurtful that is. And then Liv, I mean, she is sort of the emotional. She's the person on the show. Everybody has emotions, and a big part of the show.
To be fair, he always dismisses her emotions, so she kind of has a right to.
Yes, he does. He dismisses everything about her, all her suggestions, her intellect, her emotions. And the show's about Harry, like learning to be human, and so much of that is emotions, right? But a lot of it's, and then Liv is like the person on the show who models like true, well-adjusted, functional emotions, right? Yeah. That was just a brutal.
Yeah,
scene.
that was.
Yeah, that was really terrible. So I had two photos that I have two photos. The end of the episode kind of surprised me. it actually felt a little Doctor Who-ish when Harry gets a visit from a representative of the intergalactic
Oh my god.
legal authority.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
First of all, the very existence of an international galactic authority is kind of very Who-ish. I mean, okay, it's also in Star Wars and everything else, but that they come and they drop something on you and that this is the person and the quality of this costume and all, it felt very Doctor Who to me. So she should, Harry, what does Harry get? What is he being? He's not a risk, right? He's not a,
He broke his agreement with the Greys.
Yeah. And he told them about himself or something. I can't remember.
Oh, well, he broke it.
He had an agreement with the Greys, and he didn't leave the planet like he said he was going to.
Oh, yeah. He was going to leave the planet and let them do what they wanted to do. And he broke his agreement, which seemed to me, I thought it was just a handshake deal, but apparently it was a binding contract. This was kind of an amazing character. She's very tall. I think she's a she. They are very tall. This
I mean it's a she. I'm pretty sure she goes by a she, but it's pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure her name is
but
her name is something that is like she takes
look it up while I'm talking to you.
She takes like a traditional Heather. Yes, her name is Heather.
Yeah. Okay, I was gonna say I thought she went by a female name.
Her name is Heather, and she has human-looking boobs. And whatever these intergalactic like laws are, he's got to go, right? And they're gonna remove him from Earth, I guess, or whatever. This is an amazing. Here's a close-up of the.
I love the segue up to it too, because you get Harry's monologue, and he goes, "But humans have me, and I'm not going anywhere." And then the portal opens up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a pretty cool looking makeup / prosthetic, whatever you want to call it.
I don't know how much is practical and how much of they'd added on. Like Harry's costume, it looks very practical because he talks. I mean, she spoke in this costume. I am assuming that she also will be able to take kind of a human form the way Harry does. Harry had to kill someone. Harry had to take the body of a dead person, right? Or has to kill a person to take their body. We'll see what she has to do, but she's not going to walk around patient stressed like this, right? She's going to have to be able to take some.
All right, so I'm switching to my iPad, so I'm going to disappear for 1 second so you don't hear me twice, okay?
I mean, that's good timing, Jamie, because we've pretty much covered this, I think, AJ. Was there any other parts of it that jumped out at you or any thoughts about where it's going? We're early still in the season.
I thought her name was Feather. Harry called her Feather something. It was Blue Avian.
Blue Avian, but I think she's going to go. Maybe
in the credits, that's how she's listed as Blue Avian.
As Blue Avian, yeah. Maybe Heather has been leaked that she's going to call herself Heather in the
Or maybe you're just rhyming Heather and Feather.
Heather and Feather, yeah. Yeah. Maybe that's it was interesting to me. I expected new characters this season. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Million, right?
So I have a question. So what did you guys think about when Dan, Harry drops this bombshell on them? The world's going to end in a year. They're going to blow it up. And Darcy and Asta, they're like, what do we do with this information? And Dan's just like, well, what were you going to do before you knew about it? Like, he takes a very live life to the fullest while you got it type of attitude of it.
Yeah. He does. And then there was some Harry talks about how every this was going to happen in 6,000 years anyway. So
originally they were going to all die, so it's kind of like another
well, and the idea that it's good for the planet. I mean, that was interesting. AJ, you're right. I don't want to jump to a conclusion, but Asa and her father are of Native American. They're does her father live on the reservation?
Yeah, I think so.
And has maybe an idea about what I'm going to call the cycle of life or nature, like the planet and nature. And like, I don't know if that will be, if we'll ever hear anything about this again, but he did have this very sort of like, this is what's going to happen. Whether it happens in a year or 6,000 years, whether we're here or not. And you're right. Asta and Darcy were right away like, we got to save the world. And he's like, really? Their father was like, do you really? Do you really have to save the world? That was kind of a good, I've always liked Asta's father. I like him with the two girls this season and how he's like a counterpoint to their like
insanity.
Yeah,
like when Asta was cleaning all the dishes in Harry's house, and Dan's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Well, if they figure out Harry's involved and the Tracker's prints are here," and Dan's like, "Sit down." He's like, just calm. And even I was like, "Why is she washing his dishes?" Like,
she's like
they've already been washed. They're already clean. The fingerprints aren't still going to be there.
Well, and why can't he have his own fingerprints in his own house?
Well, no, she was afraid the Tracker's fingerprints because he's been.
Because he'd been in the house. Yeah, it was the Tracker because he'd been in the house.
But the dish is already clean.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Speaking of the Tracker, I'm kind of looking forward to Max getting over his alien tracker thing, but it was already subdued. He was already a little subdued this episode. Where he is following, he's following Harry around and he's like, I'm the alien tracker, but he's like already taken it down a notch from last week where, the alien tracker, Max already knows more than the alien tracker ever knew and has an alien friend, right? He's not, but he doesn't have any, but Max himself doesn't have, Harry's his only friend right now, really, so. So yeah, pretty good. What are we getting? 12, and this was 3, so we're pretty early.
Oh, really? We're getting 12?
Are we getting 12? Are we not?
Sure, but I can look. I'll Google what you guys are talking.
I think 12 or 13, probably.
I don't remember how many we usually get. I just keep watching it till it's not on anymore.
It goes at least
in April. Oh, it says 8. At least this place, but I don't know how accurate that is.
IMDb says 12, but we can't really count on IMDb to be like the be all.
Well, it's also the wiki said Fandom Wiki says that too, but it also could have been changed since that was released too. I don't know. I'd have to find out. I can try to find out, but I'm not sure.
Like I said, I keep watching till it's not on.
Yeah.
We'll see. Just keep watching until it's not on, and then and the Sci-Fi channel doesn't let you know very far in advance. They don't we don't have time to Google a bunch of press stuff about it. We should be more informed, but we're not.
I should know though. I am not good at that. Everybody knows that. I should know. I can find out.
That's fine. We don't really need to. We can actually probably get on to another show, actually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep with our alien theme and go to Constellation.
Sounds good.
Jamie would be so happy. I fixed some of the artwork. Apple has better photos, and they're taking up the whole space, Jamie, and there's no background showing.
Good.
I figured you'd like that better. Wow, what an episode. I told you guys by text I had to watch this more than once.
Which episode is this?
This is episode 4, which is
Did Jamie fall down?
The Changeling. It's called The Changeling.
Sorry, I picked up my iPad and I'm trying to find my coat. My back.
It sounded like you fell down.
No, I had to move. My back's hurt. I don't know if you guys know. My back went out earlier this week. I'm just having all kinds of lovely issues lately. So I had to move. It was hurting.
Yeah. So I told you guys I started watching it. Oh, we're getting a little feedback in the sound here. Oh my goodness.
Whatever Jamie's doing is creating
I am. It's still there. Maybe I can hold on. Let me make sure the speaker isn't locked. Sorry, is that better?
Yeah, that's better. So I told you guys
the iPad was angled, I guess.
I attempted to watch this show. I went out with my friend for dinner. We both only had 2 beers with dinner, and it was like an IP. It was like only a 6% beer. And I come home and I tried to watch this show, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't! I just can't.
I can't do that."
And I had to turn it off and come back to it later to watch the show. And it was a really, really great episode, I thought, where a lot of stuff is starting to fall into place, I think, from what's going on. I mean, there was a lot of there's a lot of Joe at home.
Perfect sense now.
Well, not perfect sense, but maybe what I'm thinking is happening is not the right thing. But I think Joe switched places with her alternate timeline person, right?
But see, something screwed me up with that because I thought the same thing. I feel like that the Joe that is that we've been seeing is not the Joe that's supposed to be there. But she also, when she was talking to the shrink, she's like, "I have a piano. I don't know how to play the piano," and then she played the piano. So that kind of threw me off.
No, because did you see the look on her face when she played the piano? She was terrified.
Yeah, she was shocked. She was terrified. That's what I'm saying. But even still, she still played it. I mean, there's lots of things, and I agree. That was my feeling also, because she doesn't remember having an affair, but everybody else around her does. And the other thing that gets me is Alice. Like, this Alice doesn't know as much Swedish as whatever Alice she was talking to when she was up at the space station.
This is very true.
Yeah.
And actually, that's confusing me too, because I don't understand why Alice is having these moments that are weird, considering Alice hasn't been on the space station.
I kind of think what do they call it? The experiment, the Cal.
Yeah.
Joe brought it back, and I think she had it on her on the helicopter, which
no, Bud had it.
All right, so I'm working up a theory that is not settled yet, but the presence of the Cal being around this people, I'm getting a lot of like popping and cracking and feedback.
Yeah,
and
Jamie, what's going on? It's Jamie this time.
Coming off
not me.
Because as an experiment, I just muted her and now it's gone, right? Now you're unmuted, Jamie.
Yeah,
okay, sorry about that. Somebody shut the door and it made noise. It creaked. Sorry.
No, I think it's your mic is giving us
something's going on because when Karen's talking or I'm talking, it's coming out weird on your.
I don't know. It must be something with the speaker. Then I don't know. I'm not doing anything to it. I'm just holding my iPad.
All right. Well,
you can.
It started after you jumped on the iPad.
Yeah, it's probably just if I move it, it's not in the exact position. Maybe it changes.
All right, don't touch it.
Sorry.
Anyway, my theory is maybe like that Joe being affected by this thing is affecting people around her, or somehow I don't know. It seems to not be affecting Magnus, the husband, and even in the cold open,
it's not affecting him anymore.
Even in the cold open, he's like, she's not going to be here. Like, he knows what's going on in that cold open, which I think is a flash forward. He knows what's up.
Well, I think that cold open, I feel like that cold open is a different reality, because I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Magnus?
Yeah.
Dead already, or dead in that scene? Like, he's not dead right now.
I thought he died in the
episode she pushes him and he hits his head. Yes, she killed him.
Oh, that's at the very end, and then she runs away with Alice. Okay.
Yeah, which is what we've seen before. How we started with her and Alice going to the cabin, and she's like, "Where's Daddy?" and she doesn't say anything. You know.
Now we understand why she ran away.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm thinking what we see with Magnus and Alice is the other side of things. Like I told you in text, I've got a very strong oh god, counterpart vibe. Like it reminds me a lot of Counterpart. Can you guys hear me? Karen got muted.
Jay?
Karen, you got muted somehow. And now Jamie's muted.
I just muted her while I'm talking because the noise is coming through her mic, and Jamie will take you off mute when.
Yeah, you got muted somehow.
I'm sorry. I've been thinking for a while that I keep forgetting his name. The guy that had gone, Henry, the guy who is the old NASA astronaut, that he knows what's going on, Bud. That he knows that he knows
his name's Henry, but he goes with Bud.
Henry, that he knows what's going on. That he, last week I told you I thought he wanted to maybe go to the other side to bring back his dead colleagues, but by the end of this, I think that he and his friend he and his counterpart traded places, or his counterpart came. He was talking to his own self on that computer, right?
No, that was another scientist.
And we saw him looking when Joe comes and she's like, "Are you okay?" And he says, "We would have been okay if you weren't so curious." And I was like, "Oh, was his other self curious? Do they know each other? And is that what is causing this?"
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him because
we just lost Jamie.
I mean, we see the other side. We see both sides of his reality. One where he's on the ship, during that like space con, and then the other where he's at the on site.
Guys, I somehow got logged out. I'm back, but I'll mute.
Sorry, I didn't do that. I didn't kick you out.
No, I know something on the computer.
Yeah,
it's all very confusing, and then the whole thing with Joe in the cabin, the two cabins, and then the two Alices, and I'm not sure what's going on. It's crazy. Yeah.
Also, I'm trying to get a better handle on the blue and the orange. Their uniform is blue and orange, and in some scenes, it's all in shades of blue and almost monochromatic. But at other times, the orange is much more when Henry was talking on that computer, when he was talking to somebody else in his office, the computer is giving an orange kind of background and an orange glow, right? And it's giving me the vibe of Fringe when there was the blue universe and the red universe. And I don't think it's quite that straightforward, but I
tried to tell the difference. I couldn't, and I gave up.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. But that doesn't mean that you can't tell. It means I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Oh, that reminds me. Something I was gonna say. See, I've been trying to figure out when the switch with Joe happened, because I think that when we see Joe on the space station, I think that's the other reality. When she comes down to Earth, that's the current reality that we keep seeing. So I don't know where the change came.
Because she came home to the wrong reality.
Right. But what I'm saying is, I think the cosmonaut that she saw, I think that's Ellen that she saw. I think the other Ellen died on her mission and didn't come back. Because the reason I think that is because remember the end of the one episode, I think it's the second episode, maybe it's the third episode, when Bud is dancing with Ellen, and then he has that freakish moment where she's like a corpse.
Oh, okay, that's who you meant. Yeah,
Irina. You mean Irina?
I don't know why.
Oh, Irina. I thought her name was Ellen for some reason.
I thought that too. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not going to say one way or another, but that was what I thought too. That
have you seen the whole thing, Jamie?
Yes, I've seen it all. I thought maybe the same thing happened. Now, this one, the girls, isn't this the one Alice sees the funeral, or am I wrong?
Yes. Alice sees Joe's funeral.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, my theory at this place was sort of like what AJ said. I thought that she must have died in her universe and she came home to his, and vice versa, and they're kind of in the wrong place. But Yeah.
Well, so going back to AJ, I mean, Irina is the only Russian woman that we've really seen. And she's of the right age that she could be the cosmonaut who died in 67.
Yeah.
Right? And so it could be even something about it being her body, but it could be that the person that the dead cosmonaut, who is not identified as the same name as Irina, but like it could be her, right?
Yeah.
In the alternate.
They're claiming no cosmonaut has ever died. So,
and they're right, because she hasn't died because she's Irina and she's alive, right? Yeah. So that would make sense. And I think the moment it happened is that moment. So Joe gets these tapes in the mail, and it's like from the Canadian like Space Center. They're like, oh, we have these tapes of you, by the way. We thought we'd send them to you, which is kind of crazy because why?
Yeah.
Like, why would they not email it or alert her space agency or whatever? But they send it. And we hear, and the tape sounds exactly like what we saw, which is time when she's talking, right? Like that to me is probably the moment of the switch. And the exact same thing is in the Irina tape from 67. Not the Irina tape, but the cosmonaut tape from 67, right? So, but it doesn't answer some things like, okay, the piano, AJ, I think maybe she's getting some muscle memory or I
from
don't
another
know.
person.
Yeah. Like they're still connected from the other side.
Right.
Right.
No, that's possible.
Maybe it's because Alice is resisting so hard and wanting to go back, and maybe the other person on the other side is trying to come back also. It doesn't explain that.
Well, it looks like Joe's dead on the other side.
Well, yeah. Well, we hadn't really seen that until Alice saw the funeral.
Alice saw it, yeah.
Well, that's my question though too. I was confused with is you're saying Alice come back? I don't know that Alice is traveling so much as Alice is seeing into the. It's kind of hard to tell if like they've moved or they're just seeing like into the other universe. They're like sort of overlapping.
No, I know it's very hard to get a grasp on anything because then you got that scene with Joe when she's in the office and you got those cleaning guys and they're coming in packing stuff up and she's like, what are you guys doing? And they can't hear her, and then for a split second the guy does see her and then she's by herself.
I think she's bleeding back and forth across the she's dead on the. They were cleaning her office because she's dead on the other side, right? And she's bleeding back and forth and can't control it. And Alice might be bleeding also. If Alice saw the funeral, we did see a scene earlier, first episode or second episode maybe, where Joe is like, there's another cabin. Where's my other daughter? Like, you're not my daughter. Where's the other girl?
I thought it was more like the universes are bleeding together more so than the people. And that's why like she could see it too.
Well, that could be it. Henry, like fucking around with quantum matter could certainly be part of the problem, right? Like his little thing.
Yeah, I definitely thought he caused
his little thingy could be causing the bleeding. And we didn't talk about, Henry tries to explain it in this episode, and he says something like the observer effect, this idea that the observer affects the experiment. What if the experiment is affecting the observer? Like the idea that the observer effect posits that in physics that the very act of observing the experiment can change the experiment. And he's like, maybe the observer gets changed also. It kind of makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Talk about quantum entanglement and stuff.
And then the FBI agent saw it, right? Like he's being investigated for throwing this guy over the side of a ship, which is like insane that he did it. Like, you guys ever taken a cruise? There are cameras everywhere on a cruise ship. It's like being in a casino 24/7. There are cameras everywhere. There's no way. I can't believe that he threw that guy over the edge in the 1 inch of a cruise ship deck that doesn't have a camera on it. But
well, no, that's not the. But there was that distortion in the video. That's why she doesn't see it.
Right, and at that exact moment, she sees the owl eyes. Right.
Right. It's funny because on the video, it almost looked like a wormhole.
Yeah, and like, can did Bud make that happen? Are Bud and Henry even the same person? Are we watching two separate timelines? Is it the same guy that some people say they could be brothers, like twins?
I
assumed
thought about
it
that
was
too.
the two of them in each universe. That's how I took it.
Well, I did too. I do. See, I've been going back and forth on this thought because it's been unclear, because the way it switches back sometimes, I don't realize which side they're on right away until I see like things playing out. And I thought about that, but I remember him saying something about having a brother who was one of the two people. He went to space with his brother.
Yeah, they were both astronauts, right?
Yeah, so I'm wondering.
So I don't know.
At least I thought that's what I remember. I know he came back with two dead bodies that were his two astronauts that he went with.
The people that went to space with him didn't make it
back.
I'm
wondering if my point is, I'm wondering if in one reality Bud survived, the other one Henry survived, because if you notice, but the funny thing is when he's doing that interview in his underwear, and the TV says Henry, and he's like, "It's Bud. I go by Bud."
Yeah, I think that was just a nickname. I think Henry.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think, but if you notice in the main, what we consider to be the main reality, he goes by Henry.
Right. Also. I think that's just his version in the other reality. That's how I.
Yeah.
I mean, I really, really think that it's Joe switched timelines.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? It's possible Henry switched timelines. It's possible that he had a minimum knows about timelines, and yet sometimes I'm not sure that he knows, right? And we haven't really talked about the idea of Joe's mental state. And is she losing her shit, right?
I would say yes.
Right. Is it that they're drugging her, and is she hallucinating? That's possible. And she believes she's being drugged now. We were always suspicious of those vitamins. Like when they were like, "Oh, it's folic acid," I was like, "Wait, you give folic acid to pregnant people? What's that?" And they're like, "Take these vitamins."
Oh, that's the thing. I mean, Irina and Henry are still taking them all these years later.
Did she check them yet?
Yes, she checked in this episode.
Okay, I was going to say, I find it funny. She's just like, I'll just stick them in a centrifuge and figure out what's in here. Like she just sticks them in the thing or whatever. I forget exactly what she does, but she like has a mass spec and whatever, and like knows what's in the medicine. You couldn't really do that easily. I don't think that she would have access to know how to do that, but that was just my thoughts.
I mean, it seemed pretty obvious that the therapist is in on it, and she's like, "Oh, let me do whatever. In the meantime, I'll prescribe you some lithium." And Joe's like, "That's an antipsychotic," which whatever it is. I mean, I think they give it. They used to give it for bipolar or whatever they give it for. I've never taken it, but like Joe's like, "Wait, what?" And Joe's immediate reaction is like, "Oh, it's a career killer," which it probably is. But it also is like, I mean, she just gives it to her with no like whatever, right? She's like, "Here, just start taking this.
You'll feel better." Yeah.
Well, and there's that's the kind of drug that goes with a regimen of drug testing and a psychiatrist and all this blah blah. And like when you say I don't want the drug and your therapist just like that's also terrible therapy. It's so obviously like, I don't want to say evil, but she's so obviously in on the cover up, right? Because she doesn't even she's the worst therapist ever. She's like, "Yeah, just take them." And then Joe figures out that not only does Joe figure out that they're like lithium when she tests them, but Jamie, there's also that part where she goes down the list and she sees that every other astronaut got vitamin A and she got vitamins B or whatever, right? She's taking a totally different
Henry too.
Yes. And
there were certain people that had the different vitamins. Yeah.
And they're the people, and every one of them has a news story about going off the deep end.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, and again, this is at this point when I seen it, I'm not saying what happens or doesn't happen, but I kind of wondered if they were taking like certain astronauts and giving them whatever in the drugs to kind of just as an experiment to see what they did, to see if it made them go nuts, and how it affected them. That was kind of how I took it at that point and was confused with and wondering and everything
Well, you
else.
know what? I wouldn't throw that idea away right now. Like right now, based on what I saw with different people taking these medications, what happened, it could be that the people who experience the dual whatever happens up there with the particle and the dual universes or whatever, they don't want anyone to know and they want to discredit them, so they give them drugs they don't need, psychoactive drugs, to make them lose their sanity, and nobody will believe them. They're trying to discredit them, right? But it could be that
they're trying to help them. We don't know.
No, but it could be like Henry drew that thing on the whiteboard and Joe saw it, and it says like PTSD plus trauma plus lithium equals death in space, whatever. And like, could it be that everybody, like, this thing affects everybody, but it's only if they give you the right drug concoction that it expresses itself? Like, are they trying to discredit Joe, or are they trying to push Joe to the other universe because they know about it?
Interesting.
I don't know. AJ, thoughts on any of that? Am I a kook? Am I
No,
going?
I understand. Listen, I understand what you're saying, and with this, I mean, 4 episodes in, and we have zero idea what the hell's going on. We have our theories, but yeah, it doesn't. That isn't any crazier than anything else. I feel like the the arenas and some of the higher echelon have a much better idea of what's going on than they're letting on.
Yes.
Because how do they know? Why do they want to give Joe the lithium, but her other 3 buddies there just get folic acid? You know what I'm saying? Like, and why is Arena and Henry still taking this shit 50 years later?
Yeah. Yeah. And then Alice is the wild card because Alice didn't go into space, and she's not taking it, and she seems to be having the same experience. And is it coming? Like, part of me thinks it's almost like a vibe from her mother, like, because so much of this show, like, while this is about an incident in space and a sci-fi thing, at its core, this show is about like her being a mother to this child. And in one universe, she's a good mother in both, but she's more attentive in one, right? In one universe, she's less feeling towards her family, and in the other, she's more loving towards her family. And Alice is sensitive to that. And is it like, I just wonder if, like, I mean, I don't want to be like, this show is about love, like Lost and Walking Dead. Make me puke.
Everything's
right?
about love.
But is that it? Like, is it Alice's connection to her mother that's here?
There's gotta be more of the Alice thing. It can't just be her connection to her mother.
I don't know. I didn't think that.
I don't know what's up with her. It's also it's very interesting to me. Also, it's just, I mean, it's not interesting. Like, a lot of child characters, they cast twins, and it happens that twins play Alice, right? But it's just also interesting to me because are there twin Alices also, right? Like, I feel like we've only really, like, we did see 2 Alices in that first episode. One Alice is in bed, one Alice is in the mirror. There were 2 Alices, or Joe thought she saw. Now we know Joe's being drugged. Like, what does she see? Like, what's our unreliable narrator?
2 actresses. I can tell you that much.
I guess, like, everything's in Joe's POV. Her point of view is unreliable because, right? I really like it. Do you guys really like it?
Yeah, I know. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I really like the show.
Before we go, the title of this episode is The Changeling. Jamie, did you watch The Changeling with us, or just me and AJ?
No, I didn't. I didn't watch it. Sorry.
So the title's The Changeling, and the book, not the same book, but the book is in it. I immediately thought of the other show, right?
What do you mean the book is in it?
Okay, there's a scene, Jamie, where Joe and Alice are going through some books, and she's asking her in
Oh,
Swedish, do you want to
okay.
throw them away or keep them? And the focus is on that Alice doesn't know Swedish, right?
Right.
So but there's a point where she says, what about this book? And Alice is like, oh, The Changeling, the movie where the troll switches the baby. They steal the baby and they put the baby in the fire so the mother will come back. And Joe's like, yeah, that one. And Alice is like, yeah, get rid of it. And so it's
that other series is an Apple series, isn't it?
Yes, it's an Apple.
And it might just be like a reference to the other series, as like a little joke, I would guess.
Well,
that would be my thoughts anyway.
It's way scarier. I mean, it's a similar. It
definitely has meaning with them explaining the plot, I'd say. But I'm just saying, like,
I mean,
it might be also just a joke more than anything. I don't know.
It's a well-known folktale. And AJ, remember in the Apple series, it's way scary. The fairies take the baby, and they're much right. I don't know what you think about that. You think it's a shout out, or I mean, it has to be, right?
It's a shout out.
Yeah, I mean, because
my guess.
Because it's also about a stolen baby and a switched baby. Like in the show, The Changeling, the baby is taken and it's switched with this creepy kind of like the mother's convinced it's not my baby. It's a different, right? In the show, The Changeling, she's like, it's not my baby. This thing is not a baby. It's a creepy like thing, right? And I don't know. It's just interesting. Like, is it a coincidence that it's about a switched baby? And is it a switched Alice? I don't know. It was just kind of cool. And I thought of AJ immediately since we watched that show. But I didn't click any of my pictures. Look, I had this nice. Why wasn't I clicking my pic? I had this nice picture. This is the picture of when in the cold open when Magnus and Alice have gone to the cabin. Which why do you think they go there? Like, are they trying to get away from Joe?
Yeah, but see, I think
that's because I know. So
I think that's the Magnus and Alice that have a dead Joe.
Yes.
I think they're just going there.
Because Alice says I'm scared, and Magnus says she's not going to be here. You know that, right? She's not going to be here. So
maybe they're. Oh, wait a minute. You know what?
What?
So Joe in their world is dead. But if the other Joe is bleeding through sometimes, maybe they're seeing her as a ghost. And that's why Alice is scared. And that could be why Alice is scared, because she's seeing her dead mother.
Well, I would definitely say the other Alice sees her. I mean, we've seen her with the other mother. We've known because she definitely, to me,
but we don't know what any of that means. So
but I'm just saying, at least I took it definitely as that Alice realizes there's something up with her mother, and it's not her mother, you know.
Yeah, but this is before. I think this is before that scene that we see where she finds her in the cupboard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember that specific about the timeline.
I mean, honestly, in every show,
it's such a confusing timeline. In two of them, it's confusing.
Pretty much in every show I've ever seen where people switch bodies or switch lives or whatever, the kid always knows first, right?
Well,
the kid always knows.
Or the dog. The dog also usually.
The dog, yeah.
Well, even, I mean, think about that scene when Joe says to Alice, she's like, "Come on, we got to go to the other cabin and find the other you," and she's like, "Because you don't smell like my daughter."
Oh yeah,
and then Alice is like, you know, kind of, you know, it's kind of the one with the epiphany that says to her, kind of like, "What'd you do with my mother?" You know?
Yeah, she's so all right. If I'm not her, who are you?
Yeah,
kind of thing. Yeah, yeah. This shot is from the funeral, which comes down the stairs, which is the funeral, which is like horrifying, of course. Yeah. Luckily, I only had like 4 pictures downloaded. Apple only puts like 5 pictures from every. They don't want to spoil anything, right? So.
Well, to be fair, you don't want to spoil the show. It's too.
I don't either, but
no, but I mean, it's like too plot heavy. If you tell too much, you could. Well, I don't know that you could tell by pictures, though.
I get it.
You can't tell which side's which anyway.
Yeah, I get it. But the episode's over, and that's like German or Swedish or some shit behind her.
Oh, this is the scene. And did you already figure out that the date that that Magnus went on was with the teacher?
Oh yeah.
For this scene,
and then he loses it.
Yeah, that was funny. You know, it's like on one hand I get it, on the other hand I'm like, you're doing this in front of your kids' class. Like, come on.
Yeah, and
like,
also that scene, was like a sign of her mental instability. Like in the other
Yeah.
scenes where she's unstable, is she unstable or is she just right? Like she's like, I saw this, I heard this guy, like she's
Well, yeah.
having like, she's all right about everything. And in this, she just kind of like really goes off the handle in an inappropriate setting. I mean, she's not wrong, but he
No.
all he did was have coffee with her and he thought, you know, you were leaving him.
Yeah. One kiss.
But yeah, this was her most inappropriate behavior, probably.
Yeah.
That really escalated everything. All right. Yeah, I like it. You know what, Jamie? For like weeks and months, you've been like, you should watch it. It's great.
Yeah, I was waiting to see it. It's just hard. This is the kind of show that I mean, yeah, it's hard for me a lot of times when I've seen it ahead to know what to say, but especially with one like this, it's so much going on. It's like, it's hard for me to, you know, it's
all three of us kind of like this really like,
but yeah, I knew you guys would really like it. That's why I told you. I knew you would really.
Yeah, I agree with AJ. It does give a counterparty kind of vibe.
Counterpart, yeah, kind of. I don't know. Like I said, to me, it made me think of Dark. I know, even though it's not time travel, it still kind of gave me that.
No, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah. I guess just because like Dark always had like those reveals of like the time loop closing and like all the things in like the science type, where it suddenly like not made sense, but like you saw different pieces kind of fit together as it went.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Counterpart, same thing.
I mean, where Counterpart is very similar, Dark's not dissimilar, but where Counterpart's really similar is this idea of this character who I think also was named Henry. This character who's thrust into this and is trying to figure Paul, was it, what are you saying? Is it was Paul? Whatever his name was, the Henry J.K. Simmons character, was this character who's thrust into it and trying to figure it out as he goes along and having his mind blown every episode. And that is kind of the similarity I see to this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Dark had some of that where people are like, holy shit, now I live in 1980. What? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have one more show to cover tonight.
Yes.
Yep.
Which is Shōgun.
Well,
AJ and I
haven't seen the whole thing, I was going to say, do you want me to just kind of tell you?
Yes, please, Jamie.
You're
Please
right.
tell us. I've got some things lined up.
I got to see about half of it. I didn't get to finish it. I am going to finish it. I kind of liked it. It's not really my type of show. I've said that before. This isn't really my type of series, but I did enjoy it, and it does look really good. But I'm not always like, I know you like this, like the political type stuff about the different, you know, factions and that's just usually not something that I totally get into, but it was good, and it's acted really good, and it's directed really good. So like I mean, it's not, like I said, it's good. Will I keep watching it? I don't know, but
You didn't
really awful though, the way they, you know, just kill people. I mean, I know that they did and everything too, and that's a lot of that's history. But I did think the one thing I thought was funny was the scene whenever I don't know if it was supposed to be funny, but I thought it was funny when the priest is telling the guy there that the ones from the ship that he's like bad and evil and kill him, and he's like completely ignoring everything he's saying. I thought that was funny.
Oh yeah, when he's translating poorly.
Yeah, and then the guy like totally didn't listen to him, and he's like, I'm gonna go get him cleaned up, and he got so mad. That was funny.
Yeah, I like that part also because it was, you know, it was also, so you're talking about when they call him the Amjin. His name is Blackstone, the so-called the pilot, the so-called pirate, where he's always like, these people are savages, and not always, but he has referred more than once to this savage land. I can't believe this place. I got to get out of here. And then he's like, what? Take a bath twice a week? Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
and the Japanese are like, oh, like what? He's disgusting, right? You're definitely like the culture clash, and like they call him a barbarian, he calls them savages. Like this, very like the idea of the other who's among you is really well done, I think, in those scenes also.
Yeah, I don't think I got quite that far.
You didn't get the part where he like refuses. They're like,
you giving him a bath. Right?
He's like, I took a bath, and they were like, you took that bath in prison. You didn't get to that part yet?
No,
No,
I
that's
just
the
watched it
second
right
episode.
when they were cutting his
Karen.
hair and everything. That was when I ran out of time.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. And
It
Art's
is-
saying that she's a Kurosawa fan in it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So Ark is going to be watching this along with us, I hope.
Well, I'll have to watch more, and then I can hopefully comment more.
I know, Jamie. It's going to be politically complex. You did not finish The Expanse with us. Did you ever watch The Expanse? You watched
I never watched the end of it. No, I had a really hard time getting into it. That's what I mean. Those kind of like really heavy shows, I just usually aren't something that I usually get bored and don't.
And you did not watch.
Staying in.
People are comparing this to Game of Thrones. I disagree, but you did not
I
watch.
completely disagree.
I
First
watched
of all,
the first episode of the new Game of Thrones, the one because Matt Smith was in it. I watched one episode; it had Matt Smith in it, and I still didn't come back. So there you go.
First of all, I hate that people are comparing it to Game of Thrones. First of all, it is nothing like Game of Thrones. Number one.
It's
number
not.
Number two, Shōgun. Shōgun came long before Game of Thrones.
Yeah, yes. But I get what her point is, though. It's like that kind of really like dense.
No, that wasn't Karen's point. Karen said that's what people are saying.
No, I mean, yeah, sorry, but other people like I get that, like it's that dense.
I don't like what people.
I don't know. Like I like I said, I enjoyed what I saw, and it wasn't like I was bored or anything. Although my problem is, this is the kind of show that sometimes irritates me because there's like mentioning so many people and I can't keep track of who's who. And like, I want to go to Internet Movie Database and look up all the characters' names to figure out who they're talking about. And when I do that, it takes me like 3 hours to watch an episode of something. That's why it irritates me, because I'm the kind of person who does that. And then I can't get into it because I keep doing that.
All right. So the most important I have for both of you is, did you guys recognize Rodrigo?
Rodrigo is the Portuguese captain who I don't think Jamie met him. He's in episode 2.
No, he's in episode 1. He's also in episode 1. He's in both of them.
All right.
He's the one that actually starts translating for him legitimately.
The Spanish captain.
I'm looking.
Who also speaks Portuguese, who like whatever. I didn't recognize him. He is.
I'm so disappointed. It's Nestor Carbonell.
Is it?
Really?
Yes, it is. Yes.
It's Nestor Carbonell. Really?
Yep.
Wait, I'm looking at the cast list. No, I don't remember seeing him. If it was, I definitely didn't know it was him. I've met him. I would think.
I sat there and I'm like,
he's in it. He's in it.
His voice, the voice sounded familiar, but it was kind of different. And I'm like, that voice. I'm looking at him, going, I'm like,
yeah. I don't think I got.
I'm like, no, and I'm like, no, that's not him. And then
Rodriguez, his name is Rodriguez.
Another scene, I was like, it is him. No, maybe it's not. Cool. And finally, I was like, Imdib, and I'm like, it is Richard Carbonell.
He's in it. I did not notice that. Ark, I was just gonna post what Ark's saying about it being beautiful. And it definitely is. It makes me think of, like, I watched Blue Eye Samurai. Not that that's anything like this, but it was kind of this time and place and stuff. And let's see. And she also says it's not Game of Thrones.
I'm trying to share my
picture. I was gonna say I can see your picture.
Can you see my picture? I'm sharing.
I can see it in the little icon. I don't think anybody else can see it. I just see it in the.
Oh, I don't know how to show it. I'm trying to show it. How can I not?
I think you have to
hold on.
Press share screen.
Oh, I have to get rid of that. I have to hide this. There it is.
There you go. Yeah. I definitely see him now. I can tell.
I mean, that you can see the Richard eyeliner around his eyes. That's Nestor Carbonell for sure.
His eyes.
Yeah.
Can attest to that. Yes. I should have said that to him when I met him. I should have mentioned the eyeliner. The eyeliner.
Like I said, I went back and forth for like 5 minutes
dark
trying to decide if that was him or not.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen the rest of it, and I think I'm gonna jump.
I think, Jamie, we'll talk about. I'm trying to think of some complex shows that you. I mean, I know you've watched. Like, you can keep track of every Doctor Who for the last like 20 years, so I'm sure you can like.
Yeah, it's not that. It's just there's difference between. I guess remember, it's like a very heavy story. Like, I'm not sure how to describe
it. Jamie doesn't do well with the heavy political stuff.
Yeah, it's like very like serious, heavy political stuff. It's just not usually, like I said, that's not usually something that draws me to the show. That doesn't mean it's not a good show, and I might like it if I see more of it.
Yeah.
I need time to finish watching it. I got home a lot later than I expected.
Yes.
But
I also mentioned to you, I think that it's a big cast of characters. They are mostly actors who are not familiar to us, and their names are, Japanese. They're just not familiar to us. Not like Rick, Michonne, Danny, Dana, Carl.
yeah,
like,
I know.
They're not Western names that we know, and so I think that also takes some time for us to get those characters straight.
You
I
want
don't
to know
know
one thing?
their names.
You want to know one thing that's throwing me off though? It's kind of funny because now I can't think of his name, but the pilot, he is English, but he mentions early in the first episode that he knows Portuguese. So while we're hearing them speak English,
yeah, that's where I was confused, because they said he was going to speak Portuguese and then he spoke English.
And they actually,
when they speak Japanese, it's actually Japanese. So I
love how
when they're speaking
up on that.
When any of the characters are speaking English, they're actually speaking Portuguese.
I love how they did that. I thought it was genius how they there's a lot of Japanese, and then there's Portuguese, and then eventually the Portuguese translation kind of goes away and they slide into English. But
what is the reasoning though behind making the Portuguese English and not making the Japanese English?
Easier for the viewer.
Yeah,
but I guess I'm just surprised that they keep the Japanese. But then again, I guess
that's what I'm saying. I honestly wish they I just wish they would speak Portuguese, actually.
I think it's partly to put us a little bit in the English speaker's place. The Portuguese speaker is the Western person, and not that they want us to. I mean, obviously, like, I think the protagonist of this show is not Blackthorn. It's Toranaga, the character
that's also
that Hiroki Sanada plays. I'm not saying it's to make us sympathetic. I do think for us to have to watch a show that was in 3 languages was going to be really difficult.
Yeah.
And they take it down to 2 languages, and they wanted to be authentic to the Japanese. It was important to the Japanese. Like, Hiroki Sanada is a producer on the show, and he and his co-producers have from the beginning wanted to be like kind of true to feudal Japan, and also they wanted to appeal to an international audience and not just an American audience for this.
Right.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. I
guess I'm more surprised they didn't keep the Portuguese in Portuguese.
Because if you're going to keep it,
but I get what. But yes, I think both would be too much.
Yeah, I get why they did what they did.
Yeah.
It's just I keep forgetting for a minute once in a while that they're speaking English or they're speaking Portuguese and not English, especially since in the beginning when he's when he's with his men, they're speaking English.
Talking about
and then
that's where I was confused at first.
So when he's talking to the Portuguese, he's talking Portuguese, but we're hearing in English. It's like a universal translator.
Yeah, there are scenes where they speak all 3. Like there are scenes, and is this in episode 2 where when they first call Mariko to be the translator, and there's a little English, there's mostly Portuguese, there's Japanese, and they sort of, I liked how they lulled us from the Portuguese into the English, and they just sort of slowly segged the viewer into it until we got it.
Oh, you know what scene I really liked in episode 2 was when they're questioning him, and at first it starts out with the translator, like he says something, then the translator says it in Japanese, and then it's back and forth. And then they kind of slowly switch into it where it's just Toranaga and him back and forth. Like we're just here. He's asking the question in Japanese. We're seeing the subtitles, and then he's just answering without the translator. It's still happening that way, but I like the way they kind of shifted into that
and cut the translation out.
Cut the translation out. Yeah. And they did it so flawlessly. Like everything, I'm loving everything about these first 2 episodes. Everything has been so seamless. Everything's beautiful to look at. I'm really liking it. And a lot of times, the original Shōgun was pretty good back in the 80s, but technology has come such a way, a long ways, and with the technology we have now for all this, it's not that the one in the 80s was bad or that this one's better. It just visually, I think it just brings it all together better. It definitely an upgrade in that sense.
So like this shot on the screen, and like to be, as like our friend Arc 54 is saying, like it seems so really true to feudal Japan in the sense that we understand it. And they worked really hard on that. It was shot in British Columbia, actually. Obviously, this picture was not shot in British Columbia. That I don't know if that's CGI or if that's a Japanese like thing in right? But I mean, that's Osaka. So Jamie probably didn't get there yet, but this is, it's mostly set in Osaka, which is like such an part of the point was that this was such an impressive city that when Blackthorn the pirate arrived and he's like, oh, Japan, whatever, we're going to colonize it and make a lot of money. And he did not expect Jamie. You've not got to the point where he's taken to Osaka yet?
No. I got to the point where they were cutting his hair. It was like when
he first got there.
Yeah.
There's a scene where someone says to him, like, what do you think it takes to be the man in power in this city? Like, don't underestimate these people, right?
They kill people.
But I think, look, in the 1600s, Westerners were killing a lot of people in a very gruesome fashion also, right?
It's true.
Not to say that, I mean, in some sense, it's a cleaner to chop someone's head off than to like stab them and leave them to die.
Yeah, but it's not very good to kill a baby because somebody says something against you to kill in their family line. But I'm not saying our people weren't bad too.
I agree with you, and this is set in a society that's heavily like about honor, but there is like our main character, our hero Toranaga, he does say, and you might have watched enough, Jamie, where he says, I'm not in favor of all this senseless death.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
He doesn't really.
Yeah, like he says that he'll save that guy's granddaughter at least.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'll save your granddaughter, but I'm going to let her baby die. Like that's.
Well, he'll lose his power, right? If he goes against the.
No, you're right. And he's like, I can at least do that.
I think I might not be saying his name correctly because I don't speak Japanese, but Hiroyuki Sanada, who we love and have watched in so many shows, and is an amazing dramatic actor and an amazing like action actor in Japan and Hong Kong. It's about time he got a show that he could be the giant star of, I think, right? Like this guy is awesome. He's
been a lot.
Yep. We love him. I don't know how much any of you guys have read about it, but this show was in development for like 8 years, and he's been attached to it from the very beginning. And he worked hard to ensure that this was done right. And he had a lot of say over casting the largely, mostly Japanese and some Japanese American actors who play the Japanese roles. And he's given interviews where he talked about being the first person on set in the morning, and he'd be there all day, and then he'd supervise and make sure the props and everything were right. And then he'd shoot. And he also like worked really hard to make sure that they involved a lot of Japanese like craftspeople, like people who produce Japanese movies and television and who have done a lot of historical Japanese shows to make sure it was done correctly. He's put in some like an incredible effort, it seems. Sorry, I'm rambling, you guys.
That's okay. But it does look really. I mean, not that we know per se what they look like, but it seems like it looks really authentic. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely gives an authentic feel.
Yeah. So, I don't know, I loaded up a few things. So there's a few main guys, and Jamie, I don't know if you're catching on. You've only seen part of it, but
I haven't seen much to.
So there's Toranaga, who's our main guy. He's the protagonist. His main adversary is this guy, right? And his name is that, I can't pronounce it. Like Yabushige, I think is his name, or is that Lord? Yeah. Anyway, this guy is the leader of the other 4 families, basically, right? Like you can almost think of it as like a
mafia,
right? The mafia. This is what people are saying. Game of Thrones. There's the other 4 families,
Kind of.
and he's the leader of them, and he's trying to get control, basically.
Yeah, and he wants to get rid of Sonata's character, and I can't remember already.
Yeah.
Toranaga. He wants to get rid of Toranaga.
Toranaga, yeah.
And Toranaga is the guy who's sort of, I mean, the heir, right? The emperor died. The heir is not of age, and these 5 guys are co-regents.
Yeah, and they're fighting until he is of age.
Yeah. And then there's this other guy. This guy.
He's the one that found the pilot. Well, not he didn't find him; they were brought to him. Let's put it that way.
He's the nephew. His name is. The actor's name is Tadanobu Asano. I just looked him up, and his actor is his character is Yabushige. I should be looking at the whole character thing. I got it pulled up right here. He's the nephew, and he's very ambitious, right? And he wants to he really wants to probably depose of Toranaga, Sonata's character, and take over, right? He's also the guy who's obsessed with death. Jamie, did you get to a part in the show where he talked about how he's obsessed with the moment of death? And
I heard the other people were saying that about him, but that was
So he kills people in very uncool ways because he wants to observe them at the moment they die. He's obsessed with death. And he also is a very schemer, right, AJ? He's a lying liar who lies.
Yeah, he's one of those people where he's gonna answer whatever benefits him at that moment.
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like the society is all about honor, or we think this society was all about honor, but it's just as politically undercutting as everything else. We also meet some women who are, so I only have pictures of what's her name in real life? Come on, I'm looking her up. Her name is Anna Sawai, who you know who she is, AJ, right?
We just saw her in Monarch.
She's from Monarch.
I didn't watch Monarch, so
she's
I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, she's one of the main characters in Monarch. Have you met her yet, Jamie?
No. Well, briefly, she was taking the woman's baby, or was telling her she had to give up her baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she speaks a little Portuguese, so she becomes the translator to Blackthorn.
That's interesting.
She was taking the baby of Fuji, who is the favorite granddaughter, who they're like, sorry, your baby has to die. And yeah, that's terrible. She's great in this, I think, AJ. I mean,
yeah, I like her a lot.
I didn't think she was bad in Monarch. Monarch is not asking as much of her as this role does, right? Is that what I should? Yeah,
maybe. She was also, as Kate, she was also kind of whiny on Monarch, so
yeah,
at times.
Yeah, and here she's a very highborn woman who's aware of her place and is part of the household.
Well, she's I love the scene where her father-in-law comes in and says that Toranaga wants to have another meeting, and her husband's like, another one? And he's like, oh, I'm not here for you. I was like, oh man, that's not gonna end well.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy is not
yeah, her husband's not gonna be a happy camper.
No, he's not. It's her husband, you could already see that her husband is a jerk. And when when Toranaga is showing favor to the woman, like, look, this is the way women have been for centuries. Like, the man is in charge, and when the woman gets a little power, it's not going to be good for her, right? Like, I think she might get a black eye before this is over.
Yeah, might be possible.
So, I mean, all these things, you see how gorgeous it is. So, it's funny. This was a pivotal scene, and Jamie, I don't necessarily want to spoil this for you. And you know, we get our good friend Ark was pointing out like this. This scene, the rescue and being lucky. Like this scene was like this is the scene where Blackthorn's being moved to prison, and I used to call him Evil Nephew. Evil Nephew wants to kidnap him. To everybody realizes that this British guy can be a pawn in their power plays, right? And Evil Nephew wants to kidnap him. He does kidnap him. Oh my God, how about AJ when he gives those people money and then he cuts their throats anyway?
Yeah.
This guy's the worst, right? Although I do love that costume with all those feathers. That's amazing.
It is. There's a lot of good costumes. Well, guys, why don't so you can talk about the episode. I'm going to jump off because I'm still not feeling very well anyway.
All right, you jump off, Jamie.
Yeah, but
good night, Jamie. Feel better.
Enjoy the rest of your show. Thank you. And
right.
I will be back next week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, everything about this was great with the arrows and the shooting and the rescue. It felt like a Western a little bit to me in this scene. Where you're like going through a canyon and being ambushed and then Evil Nephew kidnaps him and then Toranaga totally outflanks him and like, you know, and ends up being like, oh, well, you obviously were kidnapping that guy on my account, right? He's like, obviously you were kidnapping him to bring him to me. I love all the scenes where the powerful people sort of like undercut their underlings and like wield that power. And it just looks good, right?
Oh, it looks great. Yeah, it's definitely fun to watch.
Yeah, all these like, I mean, every one of these like photos that I loaded up, I was like, look at that awesome costume. Look at like this one. Look how that shot. Look at all those layers she's wearing. Look at like this where he's like they've got all these like amazing headwear and everything. It's just so well done. It's a limited series. I'm not quite sure how many episodes it is. It should be over. I read in an interview with Hiroki Sanada that the season covers the book. The book, Shōgun, is over 1,100 pages.
Yeah.
It came out in 1975. The original miniseries came out in 1980.
Yep.
I'm old enough to remember it coming out.
You never watched it?
In 1980, I was 12. I might have watched.
Yeah, well, I mean, you didn't watch it. That's what I mean. You didn't watch it years later. I mean, I was 5 and I've seen it.
I haven't
not
rewatched
when I was 5, but
I haven't rewatched.
Not when I was 5.
No, I think I remember watching some of it. I think I remember that. I remember that it was much more romantically oriented, and I know that in the book there's a romance, and the romance was a bigger part of that miniseries, and it's been minimized for this. It's not as much of a part of this series. There's not enough time. It's not enough episodes to really. It's 1,100 pages. I mean, come on. You really should have like 2 or 3 years to cover it, right? So yeah, I was 12. I remember it being like a huge phenomenon. Remember when I was 12, there were only like 3 channels on TV. It was huge. I might have watched it. I kind of remember it. I don't. You watched it later. You have watched it in your adulthood.
Yeah, I watched it. I watched it probably about 20 years ago.
When you were 12. No, I'm kidding.
I wish I was 12 20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested to hear your not your comparisons, because we don't want to compare it really, but your thoughts on it. Arc 52 in the chat, Arc 54 in the chat. Have you ever watched the 1980 series? We'll see if we get a comment back on that. Arc is going to be our resident expert who has actually studied a little bit of Japanese feudal society, apparently. So I look for watch and study Japanese history. So I look forward to Arc 54, like maybe chiming in and correcting us in the next few weeks, educating us, whatever. I don't know, AJ, you kind of like a dense political thing sometimes, also, right?
Oh yeah, I mean that was one of my favorite parts about The Expanse.
Yeah,
I loved. I remember I got into the political stuff before you did.
yeah.
I remember you had to watch an episode sometimes two or three times before
I know,
you got
especially
it.
in the beginning of The Expanse. Yeah, I read a review of Shōgun. I can't always. It might have been. Where did I read this? It might have been like The Guardian. I don't think it was Forbes, but was it Vulture? I don't know. But someplace I was reading about Shōgun, they were like, this is not Game of Thrones. It's a lot more like House of Cards, in the sense that House of Cards was a lot of talking about it's a lot of talking and a lot of like political behind the scenes machinations to like maneuver people and take people down or whatever. Arc 54 is saying yes because you're feeling House of Cards. I get that, right? There's a lot of talking in this, at least in these first couple episodes, but it's really interesting and cool talking about like it will probably be mostly talking. And look, there were a few heads chopped off in a very awesome fashion in these couple episodes, right?
Yep.
I mean, I wasn't a fan of the whole like boiling a guy. That was pretty. I mean,
yeah, that was. Yeah.
I mean, I get it. It was maybe it showed what this person is like, and it showed what our English guys have got. I mean, our English guys got themselves in way over their heads because they just assumed we're English and we can conquer whoever, right? So we'll see.
Yes, we shall.
Anything else? Anything else you really liked or disliked or looking forward to, or
that assassin scene was pretty great.
Oh yeah, that was really great, right? And like genius on the part of Toranaga.
Yeah,
like he knew that was coming, right?
But just the way she was like dispatching everybody with barely an effort, like she was good until Toranaga turned the tables on her.
Yeah, and it looks for like it looks for a minute that Blackthorn, Amgen, the pilot, is going to get some credit for, like, he busts in and he kind of saves Toranaga, and he's like gonna get some credit, but then Toranaga was like, oh no, they didn't come for me, they came for you. Like, I knew, like, right? Like the switcheroo with the beds. That was pretty cool. Yeah, that was a great scene. And the fight scene was good, and it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool to see a female assassin also, right? Not that I think the show added that in. Like, it probably is legit that in that time period there were female assassins in a way that probably in where Blackthorn comes from in England, there probably weren't female assassins. I don't know, maybe there were, but I doubt it. I've never seen that.
So,
all right.
Well, we're definitely going to enjoy this.
Yeah, I'm psyched we're adding this to our
talk about it.
Yep. So we're back next week. We got the same 4 shows. We'll have Constellation, Shōgun, The Walking Dead, Ones Who Live, and we'll have Constellation. Is that the 4th show?
Oh, Alien, Resident Alien. I couldn't remember what you didn't mention.
Like Constellation twice. That'll be. We don't have any new until I think the Lestat, the Interview with the Vampire, comes back in May. That might be our next show that's coming.
All right.
I told you last week I would try to watch The Swarm and let you know how I thought, and I couldn't get it on demand. It's not available on my cable package, so I'm kind of glad. All right.
All right. Well, end of another night. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Art, thank you for joining us once again.
Thanks,
everybody.
Thank
you, Roger, for hosting us. If you're still listening to us, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yep, we have a bunch of viewers on Twitter also. Thanks for being with us. And we're back next week.
This might be our longest show yet, actually.
I knew we went 5 minutes over. We gotta work on that.
What do you mean? That's not a bad thing. He slotted us.
Good for us. It's great for us.
He slotted us 3 hours. That's what I'm saying. We actually have stuff to talk about for a change. The last couple of weeks, we've been like
45 minutes and out. Yeah.
So.
All right.
All right.
Well,
do it again next week. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, gang. Thanks for being here. Bye.